It's Topic Thunder. It's Topic Thunder. Just acknowledging knowledge with no scholarships. It's Topic Thunder. It's Topic Thunder. Breaking everything down, tech to politics. It's Topic Thunder. It's Topic Thunder. We don't tell you what you want, we just give you what you need. It's Topic Thunder. It's Topic Thunder. News, brews, and views from these Chi-Town streets. Topic Thunder.
You heard the man, ladies and gentlemen. It's Topic Thunder. Welcome into the Thunderdome. It's another Wednesday edition of Topic Thunder. So thanks for following along with us as we balance schedules and whatnot. So welcome in to what we affectionately refer to as the Internet Saloon, and we offer a chair at the bar as we pour conversation for everybody. His name's Ben. I'm Brooks, and to my left is I don't know, that's your left too, right?
Is it? I think it is. Yes. Yeah.
Is the world's most dangerous chat room. We call it the Thunderdome, ladies and gentlemen. And it was the subject of many a repair. Apparently, we didn't have plumbing, and that was some sort of regulation or something like that. So, yeah. All right. Well, I tested one earlier. It was delightful.
Yeah. Bidets are nice. They're a welcome addition to any bathroom.
They should be, and it was just weird. It was weird as a country. I guess that every show is just about that topic.
Yeah. I have one, but I don't use it as much as I should. I forget it's there sometimes.
We don't have one. I'm still in the baby wipe thing. It's bad, but you gotta
clogging up toilet. Whatever.
Goes into trash. It goes into trash.
Right,
we won't do that. We won't do that to the plumbing system because, well, Lord knows what the bill was when we fixed the Thunderdome. I don't want to know what for the apartment.
Right, exactly.
Shit. So rip our show's budget. So we start every show with a drink. And since this is the first day of fall, the official end of summer, I like fall, so I'm not sad. But we celebrate by pouring a nice Lagavulin 16-year age Scotch. We've had this one before. It's the kissing the mermaid at the barbecue, blah blah blah, all that, right? But a nice Isla Scotch to welcome in the fall and to the conversation. Quite frankly,
indeed. Yes. So yeah. Thanks to Kurt for chiming in and playing along with us. And yes, Gigi does a thank you on behalf of your two roommates.
Yes, absolutely. I keep it clean over there, as everybody should. Working in a public space. Not everybody.
But Kurt, I would say to answer your question, definitely worth it. Definitely worth it. You feel very cleanly when you're done.
I haven't even. I'll be honest. I haven't even tried one outside of just
a little surprising the first time.
I bet. Ooh.
It's a shock to the system the first time for sure.
Ooh. Right in the derriere, eh? Well, folks, we're gonna kick off the.
Speaking of right in the derriere,
right in the derriere, folks. And speaking of derrieres and asses in government, let's. This happened last week. The news is actually breaking shortly. Drip dry. No.
No. You use the bidet, then you dry off with a little bit.
Then you pat it clean.
Correct.
Yes.
One good swipe after the bidet should any remnants, anything that was still lingering should be taken care of.
And speaking of those things that end up lingering on the TP after a good one, Ron DeSantis, if you didn't hear last week, started shipping legal migrants from, funny enough, Texas, and what they showed up in Boston, New York, Chicago.
Martha's Vineyard. Okay. So Arizona and Arizona's governor and Texas's governor have been doing this by bus for months now. They've been sending buses. I know in Chicago is one of those sanctuary cities where Greg Abbott has been purposely busing in migrants for months now, overwhelming the system in Chicago.
And DC too, because they pulled a stunt where they dropped it off in front of the first lady's, not the first lady, the vice president's house.
Yeah, there's just so many layers to this, man, and every layer is shittier and more evil than the next layer. You know what I mean? Like, and if on its surface, it's like that is it. You can see what the point that DeSantis was trying to make on its surface. That, well, this is what's happening at the border.
Yeah,
you know, that sort of thing. I'm sure we're gonna get into his defense of himself, but
I don't know if we even want to get into his defense of himself. I want to speak more of what we were talking about, what the human trap that was laid, and because we have we have details about this. So, but just to go over some of what DeSantis has done. Flight trackers showed 2 flights that took off from San Antonio at 8 a.m. local time on Wednesday. A number of migrants told NPR the flight originated in San Antonio and that they were being transported to Boston, not Martha's Vineyard. One flight took off from San Antonio, made a stop in Florida and South Carolina before landing in Martha's Vineyard. The second flight also stopped in Florida, but made another stop in Charlotte, North Carolina, before landing in Martha's Vineyard. A spokesman for Texas Governor Greg Abbott said his office was not directly involved in these plans. Like, what? So wait, you don't know that another governor is actively moving people from your state to several? Okay, cool. You're not involved. You don't know anything about it. That's called plausible deniability. Our office had conversations with Governor DeSantis and his team supporting our busing strategy to provide much needed relief to our overwhelmed and overrun border communities. Now there is a border crisis, and the crisis is that for the last 50 years, any sort of legislation reforming the entire process, which is so archaic that it involves handwritten reports. That's like going to school today and handing a kid a Scantron and going, yeah, this is how we did it back in the day. It makes zero sense. And there's been one particular party resisting this legislation. I'll let you folks at home guess which one, but for 50 years have stymied every attempt to reform this entire process, which needs to be reformed, no doubt, for security purposes and human rights and purposes, 1A and 1B. I'll give you both on that one. So to take care of the people the right way and to make sure that the right people are coming in with the right intentions. That's all.
The system is overrun, understaffed, and archaic. And so when the conservative side says, just do it legally, just go through the proper means, they don't understand what that means. They don't comprehend that that's not a simple process. It's not that they don't want to do it by the proper means. It's that it's very confusing if you don't speak the language, to find people that can help you and get you the help that you need and all and shelter and food and all of those things. There needs to be a much better system, but there has been, like you said, an active resistance to any sort of reform to this, because again, the root of this is replacement theory, right? The root of this from conservatives and particularly Republicans, that Ted Cruz and all of them, they want to tell you that this is a democratic scheme to bring in more people that will vote for Democrats.
I would also drench the stench of slavery onto that, because they know who the big employers are, and all of these big employers are deep into the pockets of many, many very, very well-known politicians who support these ginormous, cattle farms and poultry farms that rely on immigrants, some illegal, some legal, for labor, because folks don't want to do those jobs, which are awful conditions in and of the work itself. So it's really kind of weird, right? When you have these governors that are, again, well supported by there's got to be a ton of cattle farms, like corporate cattle farms in just Texas alone.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
right?
For sure.
Absolutely.
For sure. 100%.
Southern Illinois makes its living on agriculture and livestock. there are a ton of poultry and pork farms down in southern Illinois, and I've got a lot of grain farms, a lot of corn farms. There's a very interesting study I just read that there's a mass unemployment gap in the 25 to 50-year-old range for white males, and the number one answer is they just don't want to work. It's something I just caught it on Twitter. I was just like looking through it. It was very, very interesting. It kind of plays into this too, right? Because they don't want to do that stuff.
Right.
They don't want to do that work.
Well, yeah,
They're American.
I follow Gary V, and he's been talking lately. People have talked about the Great Resignation, right? And what he is saying is get ready because the great never applied in the first place is coming, right? Because the generation behind us, our kids and their kids are growing up in a world where they have options to make $50,000 to $70,000 a year if they in technology on the internet. There are a number of young people that are making more than enough money without having to go to college and spend money on loans and that sort of thing, where they don't need or want those jobs, those entry level jobs, the ones that are classically where, well, that's why you get paid minimum wage because that's just an entry level job. Again, every time this was brought up, go to your local fast food place or your local Walmart or your local grocery store and look at the employees. Look at the people that were working the registers. Look at the people that are stocking the shelves. They are not young people. They're not the young high school kids working for minimum wage. That's their entry level job. They're just doing what their boss tells them. That's not who's working these jobs anymore. Just go and look for yourself. There are a lot of elderly folks working these jobs. There's a lot of handicapped folks working these jobs. And the question is, do they deserve to have a livable wage, right? Because for so long, the narrative has been that's an entry level job. That's for kids. That's for kids. Well, the kids aren't working those jobs no more. They have options. They're not going to work those jobs. So there's retail and restaurant and food service is. I've been saying it for a long time. They are in for a rude awakening coming soon. But that's getting off the point here because we need to fucking talk more about the fucking ridiculousness that is this story and the fucking atrocities that were done to these people. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the fact that that Florida DeSantis hired a bird dog, which if you don't know what that is, that's basically someone that goes out and finds referrals. Right? He goes that they hired someone to go out and find 50 Venezuelan, and these are all legally documented. They are legally here. These are not illegal immigrants at the border. These are people that are already here.
One of the problems was that they had these check-ins, right? That because of their immigration status, which again was legal, they have to do these check-ins in Texas
or all over the place. What's fucked up?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry.
No, go for it. Oh, no, I like it. Go.
What's got me fired up is that they did that, but what these I haven't queued up if we want to play it, but the lawyers held a press conference. There are a couple of lawyers that held a press conference in the 24 hours after these people showed up, and basically laid out what happened to these people. And they were promised food and housing and jobs when they got there. They were told they were going to Boston. They were told they were going to New York. But what's crazy, what's the most fucked up part of this whole thing, in my opinion, is they took these people's information and they just randomly chose an immigration office and shelter randomly around the country and put their names and put them there. But they shipped all these people to Martha's Vineyard. But some of them had appointments in Washington State, in Texas, in Florida, in North Carolina, in California, where their paperwork says they're supposed to have gone. They sent those people there knowing they wouldn't make those appointments. Then that would turn them into illegally undocumented people, and they would be kicked out of the system. It's so fucked up and cruel what they did to these people.
And if you don't believe that they were lured in with the promise of all of what was just discussed, in a nod to my father, who's watching, I think maybe the second, yeah, apparently Dan Brooks is watching, so right on, Papa. Just to highlight the cruelty, the absolute sadistic and cruel behavior exhibited by DeSantis. We have the brochure given to these people has leaked, and this is confirmed. This is what these people were given as this promise. And I believe the first picture is a cover of the front and the back, which is bilingual, so we'll definitely be able to see. But if you were to look at this, it looks pretty official, right? Especially if you coming from a different country, you don't necessarily know the language. That looks, look, it's got the state on there. It's got the Boston's right there. Like this is where you're gonna go. That I would assume the state flag.
Yeah. Look at this nice lighthouse. Isn't that beautiful?
This is where you're going. It's going to be great. And look, we have all these. This is where your first stop's going to be. Here are the numbers for all these resources. Here's a church. Here's a Hebrew center. Like we're really looking out for you. This is going to be great. Welcome to Boston. By the way, it doesn't stop there, my friends. This is what we're really going to do for you. If you take a look at the inside of this, and on the left side and in the middle is in the English language. Resettlement agencies who resettle refugees under the Match Grant Program provide cash assistance and in-kind support for refugees for an additional 90 days beyond their normal 30-day period for reception and placement assistance, employment for refugee programs, and services for eligible populations seeking employment. They talk about the Refugee Cash Assistance Program. Provides up to 8 months of cash assistance for income-eligible refugees without dependent children who reside in Massachusetts. The Refugee Employment Service. They go on to tell that there's an entire service dedicated to finding them work. The middle, however, is probably the worst. And it literally tells them they will provide assistance with housing, furnishing, food, and other basic necessities, clothing and transportation to job interviews and job training, assistance in applying for Social Security cards, registering children for school, using public transportation facilities and services, and community cultural orientation. If you were an immigrant and somebody with the state of what you would think would be Texas at the time, I would assume that's they presented themselves as an official, handed somebody this, and we're going to take your family here. We're not going to bus you. We're first class. We're government. Mm-hmm. We're going to fly you. We're going to pick maybe a couple more people in Florida. Lord knows what they did when they dropped, who got on, who got off.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. There's probably no record of that.
And we're going to send you to Boston. And instead they just dropped them off in Martha's Vineyard. And of course the good people of Martha's Vineyard wouldn't have none of it. Kudos to them for showing
exactly, because the idea was, ha, let's take all these immigrants to the liberal island of Martha's Vineyard where all these rich liberals live, and let's just dump these people there, and they were hoping for sound bites from these rich celebrities going, oh, we can't handle this. Oh, what are we going to do? This is overwhelming. This is a crisis. They wanted those sound bites, and they got a couple. They got a couple residents to give somewhat of the sound bite, but it wasn't really. And so what ended up happening was they didn't get the reaction they were hoping for. Like you said, the people of Martha's Vineyard opened up their arms and said, we'll take you on. What's fucked up again is that they didn't call ahead. They didn't call ahead and let Martha's Vineyard know, of course, right? Because if they did, they would have already had services in place. They would have been ready for these people. It wouldn't have been the panicked situation, but that's what they wanted. They purposely didn't call ahead and let Massachusetts know. The governor of Massachusetts said, had they called, we're a sanctuary state. We would have taken these people in gladly. We have plenty of volunteers. We have plenty of people who would be willing to give their houses up and take these people into their homes. No problem. You just had to call us and let us know. And they purposely didn't call ahead. It was all a gross, disgusting, vile PR stunt. And to say, well, these people signed it was a voluntary thing. Bullshit. That's another bullshit thing because you're taking desperate people, mothers, fathers, children who are fleeing war-torn situations, right? And
Cartel violence.
Cartel violence. They're legitimately trying to get away. They'll do
willing
anything.
To risk it. They're willing to walk across countries.
7 countries some of these people walked through. 7 motherfucking countries. And you said, we have this opportunity. We'll give you this flyer that says, look at all these things we'll give you. What person in that situation would say no, would not sign up for it? It's just so fucking gross. And it looks like they may be held accountable. I hope
they should. I guess one of the sheriffs in San Antonio has opened an investigation. There's a lot of smoke about a possible federal violation of migrant trafficking, human trafficking, kidnapping.
They were legal and they signed up for it. That's gonna be the loophole, that they were already legally documented here and they agreed and signed up for it. That's gonna be the loophole. It's gonna get them out of trafficking. But there's got to be
this is kidnapping then.
There's got to be some sort of punishment. This cannot be allowed. And what it needs, and like I said, flying under the radar was the Arizona governor and Texas governor have been doing this by buses for a while now. The whole thing needs to fucking stop. It's fucking gross.
But this is more egregious because actually the only people DeSantis did let know was Fox News, and apparently they sent a videographer along for this. So you can imagine that tape's going to be used and probably his eventual run for president, about how this is how he treats the immigrants. And he showed it to those liberals up north, and he's the president for everybody, despite everything he just said in the first 7 paragraphs. What you said earlier about being held accountable, though, this is really going to be a big test for behavior, because as the next story reminds us, this behavior is not new.
Right.
Shipping people of color from the south up to the north. This is actually a really old tactic done way back in the day, I believe in the 1960s, which is now way back in the day, which is really weird. But in the early 60s, another group of white supremacists, relying on the same racism and spite blueprint and peddling the same lies about housing and opportunity, bussed vulnerable people, Black Americans living in the Jim Crow era South, across the Mason-Dixon line to get back at Northern liberals involved in the civil rights movement.
Wow.
Exactly
the same fucking thing.
The reverse freedom rides were a racist prank in a mean-spirited, pitiless vein we're seeing from the MAGA immigration hardliners. And while Abbott has boasted that his unprecedented busing plan is doing what no state has done in American history to secure our border, it's hard to believe he hasn't cribbed every note from those racist originators. That is, again, from the Daily Beast. So they're just playing on their tried and true blueprint, as the article distinctly kind of reminds us from the way back. Again, not a lot of people remember our own history that far back. And actually, before this entire event and the busing started, I didn't know it either. But this is another level, right? This is another level. This is a different state's governor, like, operating clandestine in a just weird, right? All around weird.
It's a weird, gross prank, and it really is rooted in just this childishness that you see from a guy like DeSantis. But then look at the people that are cheering him on. There are plenty of people that are cheering him on and saying, yeah, this is a great thing. I had a buddy at work, the first time I ever heard about this story, he texted it to me and he was like, isn't this hilarious? He's like, I know you don't necessarily like DeSantis, but you got to admit, this is pretty funny. And I was like, no, this isn't funny. Like, this is gross. This is gross. This is, and I told him this was before it had just happened. The news had just basically broke, right? And I said, what I'm hoping is that the people of Martha's Vineyard just handle it and don't give him the reaction that he's hoping for. And that was exactly how it played out. So again, kudos to the people of Martha's Vineyard. They're the real, they're the MVPs here, because it could have been a great PR stunt. It could have been. If there were liberal celebrities crying to cameras about how they didn't know this is not fair. We don't have any resources for these people. We don't have anywhere to put them. This is a crisis. If they'd have gotten those headlines, they'd have gotten those snippets. That's why he sent Fox News. He was hoping that the initial reaction would be, oh, we don't know what to do.
You know what they really wanted? You remember that the lawyer couple down in St. Louis from the protest?
Yeah.
They had that's what they wanted. That's what they wanted. That they wanted white liberals to come out of their house with guns, like we're gonna defend our. And they're just like, we don't do that here. Like, wait, that we actually have an empty house. We got an empty room upstairs. We live in Martha's Vineyard. We're rich. We have a guest house on our property.
Well, yeah,
you're welcome to it. And they did it.
Yeah, and another part of the scheme, and another part of the prank was that Martha's Vineyard basically was shut down for the year. September 1st, I believe. From things that I've read, and people that are familiar with the Northeast.
Gigi already chimed in with that too. Yeah, that the celebrities are out.
Yeah, they've already left, and it's basically just the people that live there year round and the people that work in retail and food service on the island. And so they just, again, tried to surprise these people, and the people just were like, okay, we'll handle this. And they did. And so now we'll see, that there seems to be a number of lawyers that are working pro bono for these immigrants, and are everything I've seen from all of them say they're going to do whatever it takes to make sure that DeSantis is held responsible on some level. Whether, I think he'll find loopholes to get out of trafficking and kidnapping charges. But there's got to be something. And if there isn't something, we need to invent something. We need to create something to stop this from ever happening again, and stop Abbott and stop the governor of Arizona from doing it by bus. Do it the right way. Call these places, call these sanctuary cities, give them the heads up. Don't use these people as a political stunt. If you want to really be about doing immigration the right way, then facilitate people doing it the right way. What you're doing now is just bullshit fucking PR stunts to make meathead fucking conservative assholes giggle. Fuck you. Fuck them all.
You basically wrote the next story's headline. Speaking of political stunts meant to raise the ire of meatheads everywhere, Vladimir Putin earlier today called for a partial mobilization of reservists on Wednesday to bolster his forces in Ukraine, a deeply unpopular move that sparked rare protests across the country. And as of this AP story is posting about an hour or so ago, now 1,200 arrests. The risky order followed humiliating setbacks for Putin's troops in nearly 7 months after they had invaded Ukraine. And it's true, like they've lost so much territory and given up so much equipment that the Russian military has been exposed for a sham. That's a different story for a different show, though. But Putin warned that he isn't bluffing about using everything at his disposal to protect Russia, in apparent reference to his nuclear arsenal. He had previously rebuked NATO countries for supplying weapons to Ukraine. Now let's remember, it has nothing really. It has a lot to do with colonialism, so that's why he wants Ukraine. Oh, hold on, got a little something in my throat here. I got something to wash it down. Kyiv is really important in Russian history. If Moscow is the mother of, they consider Kyiv the father city of ancient Russia. So there's a lot, and Putin's really weird and into that like czarist history of Russia, and even before that, right? So that he can't have that, it becomes blatantly obvious that he is failing miserably at holding on to power, and that his armies deserted him, that at the expense. Oh, we got a dog situation outside.
Ayo.
Yeah, neighbors. That's Fiona and Coco out there having a conversation.
Yes.
Yes, awesome. Oh boy, everybody's yelling. Everybody, that'll solve everything. No, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean she's listening. I didn't know, maybe not. But he's calling up 300,000 people. They shut down travel out of the country for men of fighting age, what I think is 18
I was gonna say,
to
didn't
65.
they're at a draft, basically.
It's basically forced conscription. And actually, we have a video of that. We're gonna show a little bit of video. That first Twitter video. They were literally walking around the streets. I don't know if that's FSB. I don't know what branch of Russian gulagology that might be, but you can see what they're doing.
I want to make sure I'm pulling the right one. It's the
Michael Weiss.
The
protest against partial mobilization.
Yes. Got it.
Yeah. This is how they're gonna get 300,000 people to the border of Ukraine. This is Russia.
Check this out. Kidnapping that guy, basically.
We're just into waiting buses. This is also going out. People being protesting now too. They're just being dragged off by whatever form of the SS you want to call it these days, like a Gestapo or the Spetsnaz or the KGB, whatever, the FSB, the GRU. This is a hugely unpopular war inside the country itself, and the rest of Europe is not having it with Russians trying to leave the country, especially their neighbors, what are called the Baltics now, which are Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. They're flat out refusing to allow Russians trying to flee into their country. This is a quote from the Estonian foreign minister. A refusal to fulfill one's civic duty in Russia or desire to do so does not constitute sufficient grounds for being granted asylum in another country. Basically saying, well, I was thinking about this. They're basically saying, fuck you. It's far too late. You should handle your own business, right? You could have.
Well, I think it's also saying, listen, because you don't want to serve in the army is not a good enough reason.
But this
to seek asylum.
But this is also cuts the other way too, because this could make somebody dislike another country even more, right? And then it might now. If you know anything about what's going on over in the Russian military right now, they actually don't have a lot of equipment. They actually don't have equipment for 300,000 new troops. They don't have training facilities. They don't have officers to run new units and divisions. They don't have methods to train. The Russian military has been one big pyramid scheme where the higher up you are in the officer chain meant the more equipment, ammunition, food you could sell in the black market to enrich yourself. Literally what the Russian military has been doing. The parades are all geared towards making one dude have a good old Moscow mule in his pants, and that's it. It's a fancy show. All of Russia's money goes, as we talked about last week, into espionage, subterfuge, secret weapons. We thought their navy was formidable, but then the Ukrainians showed that to be a little bit different too. And they're definitely, I think they have the most nuclear weapons of any planet or any planet in the world. That makes a lot of sense. Any country in the world. So that's where the Russians have spent their money, clearly.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is all centuries and thousands of year old politics being played out here. The remnants of the Soviet Union coming back to Soviet Russia, and with middle fingers in the air, going, "You want to fight? All right." Poland, I guarantee you, is just itching for something. And this is a direct provocation because it's not about Ukraine. It's about NATO. And it's always about NATO's encroachment. Try it.
Mm-hmm.
Just try it. Because if there's one country besides maybe Ukraine, but Ukraine's a different situation than Poland.
I think Ryan Hansen's right. I mean, basically, based about what we're seeing and how Ukraine has handled them, if they didn't have nukes, I don't know that people would respect the Russian army based on what they're seeing on what's happening in Ukraine.
Oh, absolutely not. Even the pundit generals and whatnot on CNN. I follow a couple of them on Twitter because they're much more informative and detailed on there. They're flabbergasted by the lack of even just simple coordination of knowing that like when to make certain troop movements and when to use artillery, not to make troop movements and then use the artillery, right? You do that artillery first, you flatten out the enemy, then you send your troops and your tanks in. There was no coordination. The Russians were firing on themselves in many. And just look what they've done. Look what they've done in Bucha and Mariupol. And now I think it's Izium. They're slaughtering people. They're raping, murdering, and looting. Again, the Russians are direct descendants, not of any European nation, but of the Mongols. I don't mean to make it like that barbarically simple or draw any kind of like cultural racial lines like that, but like that's what the Mongols did. The reality of the situation.
Yeah.
They impregnated all the women, they killed all the men, they took everything, and then their sons owned everything. That tried and true story of not American, but world history, human history. Because well, we failed to mention the death of the Queen. We actually have a touching video at the end of the show, which I thought I would show kind of towards the end, where the Ryan might be. But like, what do you think the Crown did back in the day?
Oh yeah,
conquered,
they're colonizers.
Yeah, colonized. So this is just what they do, right? So very interesting today. You can't think that Putin's got long. I don't know, like if this is going to be the powder keg, or is this the Russians just going to be like, because most of those guys are going to die, and they know it. They know they're going to be cannon fodder. They just know it.
Yeah, sure. They're going to be sent to the front lines to be slaughtered, basically.
Without guns, without boots, no, like just here catch bullets, while the real soldiers behind you are actually shooting back. We'll give you this gun that doesn't work. We know it doesn't work, but here you go, son. Here's a bottle of vodka. Here's 2 grenades. You know what to do with it. You throw one, you hold on to the other. You know what I'm saying? That's probably literally what they're telling us. But, not all is lost, especially when you consider what Russia's neighbor Finland has just accomplished. Ben, you might be very interested in this because apparently they've solved homelessness.
Oh, really? Oh, are we passing over the guy that fell down the stairs?
Oh, we are. We can't pass this over. Oh, yeah. I forgot the story, folks. Yeah. So we've seen what happens when you're not friends with Vladimir Putin, right? Now we've seen what happens when you are friends with Vladimir Putin. Another Putin crony has fallen to his death. And I
love that they have this graphic with graphics of how each person close to him has died.
Right.
It's so great. A knife, a gun, hanging, a boat, falling off of a boat, remember? Another hanging, another stabbing. This guy fell out a window. This guy fell down some stairs.
I'm sure there's something in the translation here, but oh my God, is some of this priceless. I can't believe I was going to skip this over. A Russian channel on a messaging app, Telegram, quoted the MAI, said, this morning, 73-year-old Anatoly Gerashenko fell from a height flying down several flights of stairs. This is the best. It added, the scientist received injuries incompatible with life. The doctors who arrived at the scene could not save the professor.
Of course not.
Of course not. This man was well into the Moscow Aviation Institute, and again, not maybe in the inner circle of Vladimir Putin, but certainly in the inner circle of Vladimir Putin. And it just keeps on keeping on in that regard, right? Another person falling to their death, falling to their death. All right.
Are we gonna? I can't wait till we find out next week that they were stabbed once before they were.
And for some reason, her body was radioactive, and now the people that were doing like examining the body now have some kind of weird cancer or shit. Like, how did this happen? Oh my God!
Exactly.
Look, if it hadn't already happened, you'd be like, you're some kind of weird QAnon conspiracy theorist, Brooks. Bro, no. Yeah, Ben, check this out. Finland ends homelessness and provides shelter for all in need. In Finland, the number of homeless people has fallen sharply. The reason: the country applies the housing first concept. Those affected by homelessness receive a small apartment and counseling without any preconditions. 4 out of 5 people affected thus made their way back into a stable life, and all of this was cheaper than accepting homelessness. Since the 1980s, the Finnish government have been trying to reduce homelessness. They've been working on this for a while, I would say. But they found a way.
Because they actually dedicated themselves.
They dedicated resources. They dedicated money. And the apartment here, this describes the flats, as they say. The apartments have 1 or 2 rooms. In addition, the former emergency shelters have been converted into apartments in order to offer long-term housing. So they've converted shelters into apartments. And here is the steady decline in their homelessness.
Oh, look at that. Huh.
Imagine if you...
It's almost like that these people don't want to be homeless. They just don't have the resources or the capabilities of getting themselves out of their situation without some help.
Maybe they've made mistakes. Maybe they've never... They don't know how to read or write. Whatever. Who cares?
And I wonder, exactly, and ultimately who cares, but ultimately also how many of them with mental health issues.
You know what? That would be a really nice Venn diagram, actually, to figure out if they are kind of addressing those needs too, because Lord knows that. Imagine that. Imagine, the most well-heeled country ever in the United States. And we can't come up with some kind of solution for this. We can't start a pilot program for, I don't know, veterans and say, we owe it to them first. But if this works, then by golly, the high tide rises all ships, right?
It goes back to the same mentality that we were talking about earlier with minimum wage jobs. It's the same old mentality of the way things were. Right? This is the way things were. This is how it happens. And if you're homeless, it's your fault. Just go get a job. There's plenty of places hiring. Go to McDonald's and get a job. You hear this rhetoric from people, but they don't. Then you can say to them, but you don't understand. Even McDonald's isn't going to hire someone who doesn't have a place to shower, who doesn't have clean clothes, who can't present themselves, doesn't have a home address, doesn't have a bank account, doesn't have a number of different things, but just the basic things. Like they don't have a home address to put on an application.
Transportation is an issue.
How do they get to the job? Exactly. If public transportation isn't available, and in many places it's not, particularly rural places,
costs money.
Yeah, that to get to a job costs money, and everyone thinks it's just laziness. Like it was said in the comments, everybody just thinks if you're homeless, it's because you're lazy. And it's just so annoying. It's like, it's the same thing, the same mentality with people that collect welfare benefits, that they're just lazy. They envision this person who probably has, a tint darker skin than white, that just sits at home, has babies because they'll get more money in welfare, and just milks the system, has no ambition to better themselves, and is just completely living off of the government teat. They believe, there are people that truly believe that is the majority of people that collect welfare benefits. When the statistics show it's mostly working single mothers and the elderly. Those are the two biggest groups that get welfare benefits. But when you tell these people that, they go, they don't have anything. They literally don't have anything else to say. And then the third group is people with disabilities, legitimate disabilities, either physical or mental disabilities. That's the third group. That's like 80% of the people that get welfare, right? It's an overwhelming number of people that are working or want to work or are incapable of work. Like, it's these weird old school mentalities that are passed down from generation to generation, from these men who were frankly fucking idiots. I mean, there's no other way to put it. That again, I've talked about it. They let the jobs go. They let the manufacturing jobs go overseas. They didn't do anything to stop them. You know, all the things that they complain about. They're pussies, and then they want to. They're masquerading as tough guys, and they want to put off this image that the patriarchy, right? Of I'm the man, I'm the earner, the wife should stay home, you know, the kids should work the minimum wage jobs, and this is the way it's supposed to be, and completely unwilling to adapt to the current situation as it is. And solving homelessness plays right into that. It is 100% a mentality change. If we could change the mentality of a large percentage of people on why people are homeless and what could be done to help them, if we could just get through to those people somehow and change the lens that they're looking at it through, we could do something about this. We could. We're capable of it.
But this is where better messaging comes in too, because there are some people that you're just not going to be able to move that lens. You're not going to be able to sharpen it, focus it, and that or change its direction. Certainly not. We all know the people like that in our lives. What you have to do is find a way to message it for them to make it make sense for them. Like, oh, I don't know. Look, getting them to have 4 out of 5 to have 80% success rate, like, is a cheaper tax burden on you. So this makes more financial sense. Where you're gonna then the conversation. See, I'm just already thinking how this is gonna go, right? Then it's gonna be, well, you know, what are you gonna lower my taxes? Well, no, maybe they'll be able to spend it on better schools or better roads, or they'll have better resources. Maybe we can boost benefits for these people and maybe get 4.5 out of 5 or 5 out of 5. If it's working, why not?
Right.
It's some of those people, but it's going to be messaging too, because there'll be people that might want to hear it a different way before they sign on.
Sure.
And they might want to think like, that's what I've been thinking this whole time.
I'm not necessarily the messenger for that. Right? You know what I mean? I get it. I'm not the messenger for that. But there's got to be someone out there that can eloquently and eloquently is the best way to put it at this point. Explain the different way to look at this. I don't want to believe that those people are incapable of understanding the situation better and changing their opinion based on being presented new information. I want to believe that those people are capable and willing of changing their minds when presented with new information. This seems like something that's not that controversial. It doesn't seem, it shouldn't be that controversial, that it's not laziness why people are homeless. It's not. It's just simply not. And again, lump in the military veterans that are. So when you look at it, the 4 big groups of people that are homeless or are collecting welfare benefits are people that deserve it because of the situation that they're in. You know, either they're elderly and they've lived a long life and they've paid into the system, and so they deserve to get out what they put in. If they have a disability that doesn't allow them to be a contributing member of society, they deserve to live too. They deserve to live comfortably. They deserve to have a life. They deserve to not have to worry about how they're going to eat, you know, or how they're going to get their medicine, you know, things of that nature. Our military veterans. I mean, who can argue that we should be taking care of military veterans? The same people that are like pro-military, that Colin Kaepernick can't even fucking kneel because they're so protective of the fucking military. But then when it comes to military homelessness, they're like, well, yeah, but what are we going to do?
Well, you know, just a quick reminder of that, just a few short months ago when there was a particular political party in the United States that fought against improving benefits for soldiers, injured soldiers from burn pits in Iraq and Afghanistan. So again, when one political party, again, they bounce around throughout our short history here, but when one side's telling you who they really are by their actions and their deeds, you ought to listen. But you were speaking of eloquent leaders being able to frame a situation. This next guy certainly is not that, but he certainly knows about the value of real estate, right? And what land should how to best use land? No, oh
No.
lordy, oh lordy, lord. I don't know how long we may have been waiting for something like this to happen, but earlier today, New York State Attorney General Miss Letitia James wants the Trumps to repay $250 million, which she says was illegally obtained. Not only Donald, but all three of his children. Oh yes, even Nazi Barbie too got hit with this in a lawsuit alleging that they lied by billions about the value of their real estate in order to get loans and pay less tax. Prosecutors say the Trump organization committed numerous acts of fraud between 2011 and 2021. And I'm sure a lot earlier than that too, but records might only go so far. Who knows? Mr. Trump has dismissed the lawsuit as just another witch hunt. How many times do you have to hear? And I'm not speaking to the audience. I'm speaking to the people that aren't listening to the show. Funny enough, how many times does this guy have to tell you who he is? Right. How many times does this guy
smoke? There's fire, dude.
How much? What does he have to do to let
what is
you
the
know?
breaking point? That is a great question. It is the million, billion, $1 trillion question. Like, what is going to snap these people out of this sycophantic obsession with this man? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that there are people that still think this guy is some sort of political maneuvering genius and that he's doing what's in the best interest of the country. At no point in this man's entire life has he ever done anything in the interest of anyone other than Donald motherfucking Trump. Ever.
Well, here's the difference between, and thanks for watching that, Chris. Here's the difference between cult leader Jim Jones and cult leader Donald Trump. Jim Jones gave you the Kool-Aid for free. Trump is charging them for the Kool-Aid, and with a smile on his face too. That's the gall of it, is that these people are paying money into all of this, and
it's amazing
how
this whole thing happened. Kurt's probably not still watching, but Kurt and I have some great conversations at work. And we recently, I think it was even this morning, if not yesterday morning, had a conversation about like how this whole Trump phenomenon started. Like, how did we get here? Right. And you go back and look at it. The man ran for president as a PR stunt. He wanted more money from NBC for The Apprentice. And he thought by running for president, it would just make him more high profile and make him worth more money to NBC. Then every network on fucking planet Earth decided to just give away free airtime to Donald Trump. And he was able to spread his message, for lack of a better. He got so much free advertising from the media, which is ironic considering he turned on the media as soon as he got in. But without the media,
that was a work. That's a work.
Of course.
That whole CNN thing's a work.
Yes.
His whole thing.
Hey, without CNN, he doesn't become president.
And without CNN, they don't. Without Trump, CNN doesn't pull those monster ratings. So again, at the time, the same gentleman who was president of NBC during The Apprentice was then Jeff Zucker, who was then president of CNN. So he knew how to get ratings. That was it. He wasn't a newsman. But I will counter with the cute story and surface is that it was a political stunt, that he was just like, oh, I'm going to throw my hat in it. We know, and I've documented proof throughout the history of this show. This is Topic Thunder 88, by the way. Through the history of this show, that there's nothing incidental or just coincidental about Trump.
Yes, I agree with you there, but I do think that they didn't see that coming, and then once the ball started rolling, they jumped behind that.
Oh yes,
I think that's. But So you have the media coverage, the free media coverage, where you didn't have to spend any money on political advertising, because Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, they all loved him because it was seen as a joke that this Donald Trump's running for president. Isn't that funny? Let's have him on to talk about it. And then it started resonating with people, right? And what happened was, why it started resonating with people is because he had the perfect opponent. Hillary Clinton was very unlikable. She came with a lot of baggage and a lot of stuff that could be put on social media to make her look even worse than she already is. Don't get me wrong, Hillary Clinton's a pretty fucking bad person. Let's not make any mistake here.
Yes, she's not an ideal candidate.
She was the perfect candidate because they were able to throw the emails out right before the election.
10 days.
They were able to pull that rabbit out of the hat on her. They didn't have that on every candidate.
Who did Donald Trump ask for that too?
Oh, Russia.
Oh,
in front of the nation during a debate. Yeah.
That must have been a coincidence.
Really a coincidence.
Same thing with the Proud Boys. Stand by, stand down.
It's this weird snowball that got rolling down the mountain and turned into 80 million people. 80 plus million people voted for this man in the last election.
And how many people have given money to projects like America First, which is a complete sham?
How many
Build the Wall.
How many of them gave to the Stop the Steal fund that we know went right into Donald Trump's fucking pocket, not that he stopped the steal?
It's just like you just want some smelling salt or something. Like you said, what's it going to take? What's it going to take to kind of realize that you're being grifted? You're the mark. You're the mark.
Come on. Relatively smart people that may not be the brightest people I know, but they're not fucking dumb. And they should know better.
You thought were good people, but right. if you can't get this concept, I have to question whether you're a good person or not, because the dude you're supporting supports a lot of really heinous, terrible shit, and has no love for this country. Dude,
he's in trouble though, man. This lawsuit is gonna fuck him good, and then this next story right here.
Oh boy,
this declassified docs thing is going to fuck him up real good, because he can't prove that those documents were declassified. That's why his fucking, I'm sure we're gonna get into it here. His fucking defense team is scrambling to figure out how they're gonna fucking answer these questions.
And they're answering questions to the special master that they requested and were granted by a Trump appointee who has a history of questionable decisions pro-Trump, and that's why the Trump and defense attorneys were basically judge shopping, like they call it venue shopping, I guess, for a favorable judge. So they got their special master. The special master must have seen something that was like, I was in the bag up until I saw this, and
I can't possibly ignore it anymore.
Yes,
yeah, exactly.
Cannot ignore this.
It's too obvious, right? If he overlooks it, it's too obvious. They've painted this judge in a corner,
and he probably goes to jail too for overlook. Like, wait, you knew there was treason? You knew he gave away nuclear secrets, not only ours but other countries. You knew he gave away American intelligence assets, human beings collecting intelligence for our country.
The best part is what all this judge is asking for is any sort of proof or documentation that shows that Trump declassified these documents, and they cannot produce that.
And in the note, as before, however, plaintiff conspicuously fails to represent, much less show, that he actually took that step, they wrote in the ruling. The DOJ lawyers added that Trump is now resisting a request by a court-appointed special master for him to provide evidence that he declassified records that he seized, or that were seized. Again, he's caught in another lie.
Yep.
This is about national security.
I'm telling, and then that's a whole other aspect of this dude, is that he went into this job with his mob mentality of, I'm the boss here. I'll do whatever the fuck I want, and you'll just all fall in line, not understanding that there are strict rules and regulations on what he can and can't do. We've heard how many different stories from books of, can I do this? And then some general has to go, no, sir, you can't fucking do that. It's unconstitutional. He's asked so many times for, can't we do this? Can't we do that? Why can't we do this?
Like a good mob boss, and this is to Mr. Billy Wax Point. Thanks for joining the show. And he knows the value of information and the leverage he has once he has information on somebody, and it operates just like so. He knows about your family, knows where your family lives. It'd be a real shame if something, the garbage truck, there was an accident on Walnut Street at 7:30 in the morning when your wife is taking your kids out to school.
Right.
If you doubt he ever said that to somebody, you're not paying attention. This is how he was raised. This is the environment he's lived his entire life. He learned from masters. And we're not talking about like just Ray Cohen. You don't think that he's been fed how to do this from outside sources. Let's call them hostile foreign intelligence agencies on a playbook on how to operate like this. You're missing what the history of this, right? And we talk about the attention span and like how we can't grasp the long story, the long history here. But this is it. This is it.
Right.
The Manchurian Candidate made it to the presidency. Stole top secret. It sounds like a fucking movie. And maybe that's why they have I don't understand, because I watch TV and I see this on TV every day, so it's cool. It's not cool. It is not at all cool, my friends. Oh, Ben, you want to know what else is not cool?
What's that?
When you want to go and kind of cool off, say you live by a lake and you want to go cool off on a hot summer day. It was a steamy one over the weekend. And Ben, you get out to that lake and you're having a good time. Maybe the dog's throwing the ball and all that kind of fun stuff. And Ben, the lake just explodes.
Jesus Christ.
Because apparently, according to IFL science, lakes can explode and kill thousands of people in an instant. Now scientists are worried about one in particular.
Oh, good.
On August 21st, 1986, tragedy struck Cameroon as Lake Nyos exploded, killing thousands of people and wildlife for miles around. The eruption was driven by a surge of a deadly gas that had been released from the Earth's mantle and had been building up at the bottom of the lake for hundreds of years. A rock slide within the lake, landslide, or volcanic activity may have been to blame for finally setting it free, as its sudden disturbance facilitated a release of 1.24 million tons of carbon dioxide, CO2. The catastrophic emission suffocated people in the vicinity, as the gas causes asphyxiation by hypoxia, as well as being toxic. In such high concentrations, CO2 can knock out a person instantly and stop them from being able to breathe within a minute. First-person accounts from the disaster shared by survivors to the Smithsonian Magazine talk about how the explosion began with a rumbling shortly when the frothy spray burst hundreds of feet into the air, and a gust blew through the homes in a local village. The gas killed thousands of people and swaths of wildlife and livestock. An enormous white cloud formed over the water. Hang on to your butts, folks. You can't even go to the lake anymore. Jesus Christ.
Lakes are exploding.
Lakes are trying to kill you. There's no sharks in lakes. It just wants to explode. All right. We mentioned that we didn't pay our proper homage to the
my beloved mother, the Queen. Man.
Oh, yeah. Hi. That was King Charles, who delivered a lovely speech about the death of his mother, Queen Elizabeth II. I thought there was one particular clip that was like a real touching kind of moment. And, I kind of like to kind of mix up some emotions in here towards the end of the segment. So I thought this was a really touching thing to say, particularly at your mother's funeral.
Which so touchingly encompass what our late sovereign, my beloved mother, the Queen, meant to us all. But I'd like to make one thing straight. Charlie's in fucking charge now, and shit's about to get fucking real. As I stand before you today, I'd like to address some of the tyrannical shit I'm going to do as king. First off, America, we're taking you back. You cunts have been free for far too long. I will not have it. Australia, you're going to become a massive fuck-off prison again. Fuck you cunts. India, you're safe. We don't really want you back anyway. Also, I'm bringing that thing back where, like, the king gets to fuck your wife the day you get married, if he wants to. That was a cool rule. Anyway, cunts, adios. I'm out of here. Which so
The touching words of King Charles III. Ladies and gentlemen.
Well, Brooks, I have a video today too.
Oh,
I was zooming around on the internet and I found something that I couldn't believe and I had to bring here. What is this I found?
The man has some wonderful hair.
Look at that hair. There it is. Thanks
That
to
was
Billy
me.
Wack.
I don't remember that. I don't know that whoever that was sure was handsome though. I will say.
Yes.
Let's
Mike Brooks, this is your life.
I may have been attractive at one point in my life, but that wasn't me. So you don't know that. I don't know who that guy was.
That was the Flawless Man. That's all I know.
That's all I know, and he might spell his name the same way I do. But there's a lot of Michael Brookses out there, so you never really
There
know.
are.
You
There
know?
are. Although yours is a uniquely like.
Mike. I was Michael Hanzus won a Stanley Cup with the Chicago Blackhawks. Michael Roosevelt won a Stanley Cup with the Chicago Blackhawks. It's a fairly common name. It's a fairly common name. Okay. Never gets misspelled anywhere else.
The people are loving you. Look at that. like a floppy haired wine. That hair was flawless.
Oh, that good times. 1990. That was 4. Had to be 4. It had to be the second season.
After the balls video last week, I was like, what else is out there? And then I found it.
No, we'll cleanse the palate, I guess, with a dog feeding other animals because I thought it was really cute for 15 seconds. Why not?
Oh, look at that pig. Oh man.
Look at that dog. He's just like, here, guys.
The dog's just like, hey guys, I'll just stand here as long as I need to.
Look what I found. I found this.
Yeah.
You guys like
This
this
is
stuff?
pretty cool.
I can't.
Could you
stand this
hurry
shit.
it up? Because this is taking a while. No, that's awesome.
Oh boy, Ben. I don't know how else to say this, but I'm charged up for the lightning round, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the #1 segment on this podcast that now apparently my father's watching.
Yes.
Yes. I had to take the what is this? The equinox.
It only took
fall
88
equinox?
episodes.
It's a good round number. We'll take it. We'll take it any day of the week. And maybe one time, maybe someday soon, he'll make an appearance in the world's most dangerous chat room, the Thunderdome. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Lightning Round. The rules are simple. If you're new to the program, here they are. 3 stories enter the Thunderdome. I should not make that symbol like that. So we'll do 3 stories, and that there's no cool way to do the 3 thing because this is like the white power thing, which. How about I just do any hand signals and keep my hands to myself, like my mom always said. 3 stories enter the Thunderdome, ladies and gentlemen. 1 gets read, and you, the world's most dangerous chat room, pick those stories. Let's not dilly-dally. We're getting into the witching hour. So here's headline number 1. Wrecked semi shoots load of dildos and lube all over I-40.
Courtney is definitely not voting for that. She hates these types of stories being in the lightning round. They always win.
Headline number 2. Beyond Meat suspends its chief operating officer after arrest for allegedly biting a man's nose. And
Gigi doesn't even need to hear him all.
Headline number 3. Oh, you may have picked wrong, Courtney, if you don't like this stuff. You don't like butt stuff. Chess grandmaster accused of using sex toy to cheat and win against the world's top chess player.
I saw the headlines on this. I didn't know that there was a sex toy involved.
Was that?
Oh, hey, now you have my attention.
Hey, Courtney, was that a vote for number 3 about number 2?
Yes.
So get your votes in right now, ladies and gentlemen. I'll let some of that settle in, but we're going to repeat that before we start tabulating everything up. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, headline number 1. Wrecked semi shoots load of dildos and lube all over I-40. Headline number 2, shoots, right? They got you on shoots. Beyond Meat suspends its chief operating officer after alleged arrest for biting a man's nose. And headline number 3, chess grandmaster accused of using a sex toy to cheat and win against the world's top chess player. Get your votes in now, ladies and gentlemen.
If you motherfuckers don't vote for 3, the Thunderdome is a filthy town. Yes, we are.
Yeah, Brooks fascist confirmed. Can confirm. Yeah, fascist over here.
Okay. Hayden's voting for number 3. Billy Wax voting for number 3. Gigi's 3. Biz is number 3. Ma Jordan with number 3. And of course, we got our headlines. Aunt Chris is going with number 3. This is a landslide.
This is
that's the wrong one. Hold on. And then of course we have Ryan Hansen with his alternate headlines: Bustin' Loads, Beyond Cannibal, and Buzz Me In Champ. Dan Brooks is also voting for
number 3. All right, that's not weird at all.
This is a landslide, ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me while we're talking about this, I figured this one was going to win. But I knew it was going to face some stiff competition with the dildo story. Hope my dad heard that one too. Not awkward at all. I'm sending Ben the link right now, ladies and gentlemen, so you can read along. But let's hit the headline. This is from our good friends at WCYB.com, News Nation World. St. Louis, Missouri, of course. Rumors are circulating that a 19-year-old chess grandmaster used vibrating anal beads and artificial intelligence to defeat the world's current top chess player, Magnus Carlsen. That's not his real name, but we'll get to that. Chess prodigy Hans Niemann, that's his real name, 19, fiercely rejects the accusation that he cheated in his win over Carlsen on September 4 at a tournament in St. Louis Chess Club, which, by the way, I found the purse total. Oh, they actually go down. The next sentence is like, the total purse for the chess tournament was $350,000.
Wow.
That's a lot of money, right?
It is for a chess tournament. Yeah.
I mean, that's total winnings. So not the the grant, but like, that's a lot of fucking money for chess. Carlsen is a 5-time chess grand champion, was made famous for being a chess phenom since the age of 13, according to the Riverfront Times, which then adds a documentary film centered on him titled Magnus helped the chess player's fame spread from just a typical chess enthusiast audience. Following his loss to Niemann, Carlsen shockingly withdrew from the tournament. Niemann was accused of cheating almost immediately after his win. Detractors believe an accomplice was using artificial intelligence to determine what moves Niemann should make, and then sending signals to a vibrating set of anal beads, which Niemann is accused of having inside him, to communicate those perfect moves. If such a particular, if not bizarrely vulgar accusation that has escaped the usual chess enthusiast circle to become widespread internet rumor and meme. Billionaire Tesla and SpaceX CEO Elon Musk even joked about the accusations, but has since deleted the tweet. The tweet was, talent hits a target no one else can hit. Genius hits a target no one else can see. Of course, it's in your butt. That, ladies and gentlemen, is your lightning round winner for this, the 88th edition of Topic Thunder.
That's one of the best. That was really good.
That's a hell of a thing.
Talking about having your head up your ass.
I've got an extra, not move up my sleeve, but somewhere else. Hey, but like for real, like, how do you prove that? Right.
Right. It's impossible.
That's
Yeah.
when you have to get the person in the moment, which
Right.
are they equipped to do that at a chess tournament? And that's a hell of a thing if you just lost to some 19-year-old punk and you've got a movie that came out about you called Magnus.
Uh-huh.
You might want to think of the most outrageous thing to think of. Like he had help from artificial intelligence and a butt sex toy. It's true. That's the reason I lost. I'm Magnus Carlson. Actually, I'm Brooks, and that's Ben. And you've been listening and participating with Topic Thunder. And from the bottom of our collective hearts, we thank you for that. You make the show what it is. And of course, you are the world's most dangerous chat room. And of course, humbly grateful and eternally thankful for all that you guys provide to the show. Ben, I know you got another episode of the Nameless Retro Wrestling Show coming up.
Indeed. Yeah. Our good friend Derek Bayer, Midwest wrestling fans will know him as Derek St. Holmes Esquire.
Fan
will
right
be
here.
joining us. Yes. We'll be watching AWA Super Sunday from 1983, featuring Hulk Hogan versus Nick Bockwinkel for the AWA Championship. So
It's actually probably a good match. I'm just going to say
it's a very good show from top to bottom. I'm almost done with it, but yeah, tomorrow night around 8 o'clock Central Standard Time, we'll be chatting some wrestling.
From the USS Rapapa, thanks for watching, ladies and gentlemen.